In a land filled with hatred, where the world is ruled by a man known as David Blaine, when he found an ancient artifact in 2021 and still reigns supreme over 1,000 years later. David Blaine wakes up and feels strange. He starts to question what is going on and begins to panic. David Blaine begins talking to his friend Crackers and then suddenly starts feeling dizzy. David Blaine begins screaming in agony. Crackers begins freaking out and convinces himself that maybe David Blaine is having a stroke or seizure. David Blaine starts to come back to his normal state. David Blaine and Crackers continue talking. David Blaine lets Crackers know that they will be going on an adventure. David Blaine and Crackers are going on a road trip to explore Winterstead Fields. They stumble across a pathway which leads to Winterstead Manor, which also clears the pathway for Winterstead Fields. As they are walking down the pathway, a figure appears out of nowhere and scares the absolute shit out of them. David Blaine realizes it is David Blaine, who is a female, and begins talking to her. Crackers cannot help himself and begins staring at female David Blaine. David Blaine sees Crackers sweating and begins worrying as to what may be wrong with him. But then Crackers pulls out a gun and shoots David Blaine directly between her eyes. David Blaine is in shock at what he had just witnessed. Crackers says how she was catching on to them. David Blaine listens to that, but then he questions, where could Crackers have gotten that gun? Crackers states that he found it in the floorboards from a vision. David Blaine worries, and he checks to see if Crackers is okay. Crackers explains about everything he saw. Crackers asks for David Blaine's help to hide the body. But David Blaine declines, showing utter disappointment in Crackers. Crackers begins searching for a spot to bury David Blaine. Crackers goes to bury David Blaine until David Blaine wakes up and speaks to him. David Blaine begins talking to Crackers, but then they both scream because they're both talking to each other, when David Blaine should be dead. David Blaine wanders to see where Crackers went, and sees that Crackers is talking to an elusive corpse, so he starts heading towards them. David Blaine quickly fires a disintegration spell at David Blaine to try and destroy the corpse before it can consume his friend Crackers. After David Blaine had killed David Blaine, Crackers turns and looks at David Blaine with a sad, angry look on his face. Crackers and David Blaine start to argue back and forth about what had just happened. Until David Blaine releases an enormous cloud of purple mist around himself and strikes Crackers directly to the head with what appears to look like lightning. The mist begins spreading amongst the landscape until it consumes the entire area, only currently showing David Blaine and the purple mist itself. David Blaine describes that this area is nothing how it used to be. There used to be such vibrance and joy and all sorts of things you could think of. It was just such a positive place. And then everything just went dark. Darkness had consumed the land for what appears to be thousands of years, and the only person who can figure out how this darkness had hit is the legendary man. David Blaine. After all the troubles, David Blaine and Crackers had finally made it to one key point location that David Blaine had meant to come to. Crackers looks around, confused, and begins to question where they are. Crackers quickly takes a brief look around before he questions David Blaine about where the hell he is. David Blaine begins describing to Crackers that they are trapped in somewhere well known as the Phantom Zone, but unbeknownst to him, it is not well known to Crackers. Crackers takes a look around to see what the hell is going on, but as he looks up in the sky, all he can see is an area filled with purple mist, almost resembling the aesthetic of a gas. David Blaine begins explaining about the precautions Crackers must take in this realm, as the voice may hear everything that they say, and he will know their every move, and this is all a part of the voice's demise. As David Blaine describes the situation to Crackers, Crackers suddenly gets struck by a bright beam. David Blaine freaks out and he goes to check on Crackers to ensure he is okay. Crackers starts to wobble, so David Blaine goes to help him up. As Crackers wobbles back up, he remembers everything. David Blaine insinuates to Crackers that they must move on, but the next location is Crackers' brain to try and see exactly what he can remember. But can the two make it out is the real question. David Blaine and Crackers begin talking and decide to quest on, until a big whooshing sound suddenly brushes past them. They hear a voice which says, "I'm here." David Blaine then states, "What do you mean you're here?" Where he goes, "Why, you called me, of course." David Blaine looks around worried, and then suddenly realizes he did indeed mention the voice's name, and has now realized this is the voice who is filming. No one knows exactly what the voice looks like. All they know is that the voice is far too dangerous and far too powerful. David Blaine begins arguing with the voice until the voice snaps his fingers, making David Blaine and Crackers feel severely ill and even pass out. Crackers wakes up and sees that both him and David Blaine have handcuffs on, and they appear to be inside of some sort of prison cell realm cell. David Blaine rotates his wrist and suddenly the cuffs disappear from his wrist. David Blaine explains to Crackers how to do it, and Crackers tries to do it, but it does not work, and he doesn't understand and begins to get frustrated. Crackers tries again and then is amazed because suddenly it worked. David Blaine lets Crackers know of a plan of how to escape the prison cells. He will change his atoms to try and push himself and Crackers through the bars. David Blaine and Crackers are able to morph themselves through the bars and now can try to escape this prison domain, as David Blaine explains to Crackers to channel his interior and exterior surroundings. Crackers focuses deeply to see if he is able to channel exactly what David Blaine is talking about, but yet nothing. David Blaine explains to Crackers that he must use his power and focus his energies deeply, so then they may combine their energies to potentially defeat the voice's reign. Crackers focuses harder, and he is able to understand what David Blaine is now talking about. The time flourishes, and he's seeing them everywhere. Left, right, top, bottom, center. They are surrounded. Crackers and David Blaine discuss about Ethereal, but then decide it is not a great idea. But then they come back to it and think there's no other possible way, and what needs to be done must be done. And then that's when they begin pulling in the darkness. Have David Blaine and Crackers done the wrong thing? Everything is gone. All that is left behind is nothing but darkness. In a land they once thought they knew, they no longer know, and what will come next is far beyond their capabilities. Whether this is the end or the beginning, now that is something that cannot be told. For we will see one day who will reign supreme.